very warm and pleasant afternoon to everyone. I hope everyone is keeping safe and healthy. These are unprecedented times. I am Anusha Tiwari, one of the core team members, and I'm extremely honored and joyed to welcome all of you to the second webinar of Agon Mun organization. We take pride in organizing this webinar, which revolves around a brainstorming and thrilling topic, which will want us to think out of the box and beyond our horizons. A new world order. Will India be the next superpower? I'm sure by the end of this webinar, we all will be equipped with a lot of answers to this question. I would like to introduce myself. I'm Anusha Tiwari. I am a second year law student at Symbiosis Law School, Noida, and I'm pursuing BA LLB. Now I would like to welcome our founder, Mr. Shivam Bansal, who is also a law student at Symbiosis Law School, Noida. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Usha, for such a warm introduction. Before starting, I just want to introduce Agon Mun organization with the audience, as it is our second webinar, and I've seen that a lot of students have booked their seat for this webinar. As Agon, we started the organization in the year 2020 in the month of January. Agon is a group of students who have come together to develop the idea of MUN and youth parliaments among the budding students. Our aim is to make the students opinionated and to increase the MUN culture developing in the country. We will not be only focusing on the MUNs, but also the youth parliaments and debate competitions. Once the COVID situation will become better, our team is focusing to conduct the events on regular basis. We will be majorly focusing on the school level, as it is the time for the students to hone their debating skills. And this does not mean that Agon will not be inviting college students in their conferences. We also would be aiming and will be ensuring that the students from lower status of the society become well acquainted and with the legal mechanisms and political mechanisms of the country. Ever since the pandemic and lockdown, we have conducted the various events like quiz competitions, Quizdom, and a series of posts where you can find everything about MUN. Also, we post regular global fun facts and conduct a discussion on every Sunday on Instagram on the prevailing issues. Now, without wasting any more time, it is my immense pleasure to welcome our speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Vivek Atray, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for the
Thank you,
welcome.
Shivam. Thank you, Shivam. Now I would like to introduce our eminent speaker of the day, Mr. Vivek Atray, who is a former IAS officer, a motivational speaker, author, mentor, advisor, columnist, and visiting professor. He has 8 TED Talks and 3 highly popular Josh Talks. Over 30 lakh people have viewed his videos on YouTube. He is the founder of Suvichar Think Tank, visiting professor at Sulini University, member of the CSR Advisory Board of Action Aid. He's also a founder of the Vibrant Networking Forum, Playwright Foundation, Chandigarh Literary Society, and co-convener at Intact Chandigarh. He's a member of the Governor's Advisory Council for Chandigarh. He addresses audience from the industry, academia, government, nuances of leadership, good governance, emotional intelligence, life skills, people skills, public speaking skills, mediation, calmness, entrepreneurship, education, and sports management. He has inspired thousands of youngsters to adopt a cheerful, positive, and a multi-dimensional approach to life. Mr. Vivek, sir, is an acclaimed orator and has spoken in India and abroad at events of Horizon, NASCOM, CII, TIE, NCGG, LBSNAA, IIFT, ISB universities, colleges, schools, and private companies. His novels are Move On Bunny and Dubiji Bounces Back. He writes a fortnightly column random forays for the Hindustan Times. His new book is Finding Success within 52 life skills for young minds. Additionally, Sir is also Director IT, and he is the man behind the Chandigarh IT Park. He spearheaded the award-winning e-Sampark project, also helped Chandigarh come on the tourism map. Sir was also quoted by the New York Times and the Observer of UK during this period. As DC Panchkula, he initiated projects such as Aadar Samman, which is respect for elderly. He advised KPMG and PwC for a 2-year sabbatical from government. He organizes the annual All India JP-R3 cricket tournament since the year 1992. Sir himself is an under-19 cricketer at the national level. He is also an electronical engineer from NIT Kurukshetra and also holds a diploma in French. Sir, we are honored to have you on board, and I would request you to please take the floor and continue the session. Furthermore, I have a small announcement for the audience. Please type your questions in the comment section. The speaker will be addressing them in the Q&A. Thank you so much for your kind patience.
Thank you very much, Anusha, and thank you for the welcome and the warm appreciation and introduction. I know a large number of young people have joined this session and will be watching it live as well as later. Today I'm going to talk about India. And India is our country. It is our motherland. It is our fatherland. It is our place of stay, most of us. And it is where we have been born. So India is poised to become a superpower. That's the topic. Okay, but let me talk a little bit about what India can look forward to. So firstly, because I'm talking to the youth, let me say that the most exciting part of India is the youth. And how amazing the youth is, I can tell you by first-hand experience, because I have been traveling in the last 3.5 years. I mean, not so much in the last 1 year because of lockdown. Before that, I was traveling across India to speak to the youth of India as a motivational speaker, as a writer. I keep writing about them. And I have held about 150 webinars in the last 1 year also, which have been addressed to the youth mainly. And therefore, I would like to say that the youth of India is amazingly talented, amazingly confident, and not scared of anything or anyone, only needs to be guided. For India to become a superpower, the youth of today have to become the responsible citizens of tomorrow and day after tomorrow. And for that, we need people who can lead. And if you have leadership qualities in you, then you will be able to lead the country into great things. Absolutely wonderful achievements can come to India if we have leadership qualities in our youth. So let me say that these leadership qualities don't come by chance. You have to work on them. And most of us spend our youth studying, of course, hopefully, playing or chasing after things and getting distracted also, which is normal. It's okay to be distracted at times. But we don't really spend enough time on developing consciously our qualities, leadership qualities of various kinds, personality of a kind that will impress others, and not only impress, will be genuinely respectable and admirable. So I would say the first tip that I'll give the youth so that they can be part of a great India in the future, and India is already great in many ways, but we have some way to go in other ways. The first thing I'd like to say is that we need to adopt a formula which I have talked about a few times. It's called 3I minus I. 3I minus I. Now, the 3I minus I formula is integrity, innovation, inspiration. Integrity, innovation, inspiration, we need to add. And the I we need to minus is the ego. That means I, me, mera ye, mera wo, my this, my that. We need to minimize. If we minimize the ego, the self-centeredness that we have, then we become far better human beings. We become far more effective. We become far more respectable. And another thing is that the 3 I's that I mentioned, they will come into play and make you happy and successful if your ego is minimized. What is ego? Ego is not only thinking too much of yourself as people think. अपने आप को बहुत समझता है, that means he has a lot of ego. That's not the only thing. There are a couple of other things. And these are the self-centered nature. Only thinking of yourself. That means my money, my house, my family, my property, my book, my game, my computer. All the time being self-centered, even selfish, is ego. And also forgetting that you are not really the body. If you look at India's scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita tells you, you are the soul. And if you are the soul, S-O-U-L, soul, Atma, then all these possessions and all these ego and all the various material achievements will fly away and go away at the end of life. So why don't we connect with our true self, where the ego is minimized, and which means that the soul has to come into play. And what is that? You can read about meditation, you can read about scriptures of India, you can read about spirituality in a young age, and you become balanced. So the first thing to know is to minimize the ego and not keep on thinking only of yourself. Linked to this is compassion. If you are compassionate, that means that you have that big picture in mind. You think of others. You don't think only of yourself. You don't feel only about your own petty things or little things. So you start thinking of others, sharing, caring, helping others. Then the universe conspires to help you. That is the saying. The universe conspires to help those who help others. So be of such nature that you are able to help others, that you are able to look after others, that you spend some time teaching somebody, or maybe even donating some money wherever you can. And maybe you are planting some trees, cleaning up the area. Compassion for society, for those who are underprivileged. That is also very important. Elderly. Spend time with the elderly. You are young, you have a life, you are active, you are dynamic, you have a bike, you go out, you do various things when the lockdown is not there. But the elderly can't do all that. So they are sitting waiting for the young people of the house or the neighborhood. Kab ye aayega mere paas, kab baithega? When will he listen to me? I want to tell him stories of my childhood, but he doesn't listen, doesn't have time. You take out time for the elderly. The next point is the 3 I's that I said you must add. Inspiration comes when you are forever enthusiastic. You can't be enthusiastic one day and totally dull the next day. At least 29 days in the month. If it is February, then 28 days in the month. You have to be enthusiastic. 1 or 2 days. January है तो 2 days रह गए, और अगर April है तो 1 day रह गया 29 के बाद. That is the day when you can feel a little low. Once a month is okay to feel low, कि थोड़ा सा हमारा जोश कम हो गया. But when normally we get up in the morning, we have to have that josh that will take us very far in life, which will make us achieve things in life. And then comes inspiration, के बाद comes innovation. Innovation is creativity, thinking differently, trying to make things happen, not using the same style of working all your life, or maybe not even doing the same career all your life. Now, I can share with you, and some of you, many of you know, many of you have watched my Josh talk on IAS officers. I have 20 lakh views on that. I have 35 lakh views in my talks in all. If you search on YouTube for my name, that is Vivek Atray, which is on the screen, you can search on YouTube later and find a lot of talks. So as I say, it is that creativity which will make you a better human being and a more successful human being, a happier human being. And ultimately, happiness is the goal. Success is not complete without inner peace and happiness. And the third I is most important, integrity. Integrity means character, means doing the right thing when nobody is watching. And when nobody is watching, even a football player who dives, those of you who follow football, you know that dive का मतलब ये नहीं है सिर्फ जो क्रिकेट में होता है कैच पकड़ने को dive. In football, players deliberately dive at times to fool the referee that they have been kicked by the other player and they have got hurt, so that they can get a free kick or even a penalty. That's important for the referee to find out whether that player has actually got hurt or he is deliberately done it. So integrity is lacking in such a player if he does it. And you've never seen someone great like Ronaldo or Messi do that. Though I think Neymar does it. If we talk of the top footballers of the world, I've seen Neymar do that. So you have to be careful as to who you follow. Inspiration can come from great people, but they should be people of integrity. Look at Dhoni. Dhoni has never shown his emotions, and he's never let down his country in terms of integrity. Even Kohli has never. Whereas someone like Steve Smith of Australia, he did something, as you know, ball tampering, etc. His team did, which let down his team. So integrity is vital. If you're a public servant, like I was in the IAS, I changed my career. I resigned. I became a motivational speaker in 3.5 years ago. And wherever you are, you have to have high integrity. People may lodge false complaints against you. That's okay. You keep on steadfastly doing exactly what you should be doing in the right way, in the right manner. Of course, personal integrity can be shaken at times. We are human. Human beings say galti hoti hai, kehte hain insaan se galti hoti hai. But that doesn't mean that you keep on repeating the mistakes. Plus, you have to not feel guilty. You did something wrong 2 years ago. You're still feeling guilty. That's not right. Try and improve yourself instead of feeling guilty about what happened 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 6 months ago. Forget it. Move on. Don't feel guilty. Overthinking is not good for you. So the youth of India are going to make India a superpower. That is my belief. There are 2 or 3 things that India needs to do in order to set the house in order so that the youth can flourish, India can flourish, society can improve. Firstly, we need to make changes in the social awareness of society. So people of this country are differently educated, as you know. There's so many wide varieties of education levels. Some are PhDs and scholars and toppers and medical researchers and brilliant people. Many people are just not even uh, 1 or 2 grades of school education. But more than education, even, is the awareness of what is right and what is wrong, which even a cobbler can have who may not have had any education. If he is honest, if he doesn't trouble his family by drinking or beating them up or whatever it is, that is social awareness and social conduct which is exemplary. A poor man may have more morals and better behavior than a rich man. Someone who's very rich, very successful, powerful, may be badly behaved. So conduct, social conduct, is something we need to work on in the country, which also includes moral values and corruption-free society. If we work on that, India can become a superpower without doubt. The resources we have, of course, the population is so high that all those resources have to be divided among that population. If our population was 50% of what it is today, supposing, then our resources were enough to make us the richest country. But since we have such a large population, we have to work harder to reach that level, which we can reach if we have a clean society. So corruption should not be one of the negativities or the banes of our society. And social conduct will be good, corruption will be reduced, women will be able to emerge from their shell and emerge from being downtrodden. Women are the most important part of society if you look at it. We are, all those who are men or boys in this session or this video who are watching, I must tell you that we have to respect the ladies. Many times boys are brought up in our families in India to respect only their immediate family, only their relatives, not the ladies who live out across the road or in the market or somewhere else in the bus. Respecting ladies who you don't know, who are not connected with your family, is important. Boys and men who are young men who are aware that they have to respect the ladies are better citizens and their conduct is better. Their lives will be better. And those ladies who are suffering because of oppression or not being allowed, young girls who are not allowed to study further, not allowed to work, not allowed to, they get them married at the age of 18 or whatever, it even 17 at times or 16, lower strata of society or any strata. it is important that these things change. Girls and women should be allowed to flourish. They should be allowed to prosper. They should be allowed to hone their talent. They should be allowed to become what they want to become. They should be allowed to lead a life that is full of happiness, creativity, innovation, inspiration, integrity. Girls anyway have less ego than the men. Their ego minimization is easier. So girls have to be given a platform, education, even sports opportunities. I am a co-founder of Playwright Foundation. Playwright Foundation has started a campaign to promote women's sports, especially women, but other sports also. And we have been conducting seminars, we have been distributing sports equipment to girls, we have been carrying out some events. It's extremely important for us to understand that women can be empowered not only through education, but through opportunities in sports, in entrepreneurship, in the arts, in music, in other things also. Only IT jobs or call center jobs or uh, complaint handling jobs on the phone are not enough. They can be leaders. Which brings me back to the leadership point. If we have the right leadership in India, then Indians will flourish, India will flourish. Leadership means not only political leadership. Where do the politicians come from? They come from India, they come from society, they come from our midst, they come from us. So we can't really blame the politicians for our ills. We can't blame them for all the problems that are there in the country. What we can do is to strengthen our politics by getting the right people in. If young people enter politics with the right mindset, in future, we will have better society, better politics, better public life. Similar to the case with government employees, those who are entering any service, their selection has to be on merit. Public life will be cleaned up if good people come, meritorious people, and not people who got through a shortcut into that service or any corrupt means. If we can recruit correct people, then their first step is correct, and they will spend the next 35 years of their government career. 35 because normally somebody joins at 25 years old or 27, he retires or she retires at the age of 60, around that. So not like me who took early retirement, everybody doesn't take that. But the point is that they will do better if they are selected on merit. Then a couple of other things. We need to clean up our government system because there's too much bulk, too much of rusting in the structure, and that is because there's too much of it. Too many people in the government, too many departments, too many whatever councils, corporations, boards, committees, tribunals, so many things. That is why the courts get after the government, because the government is not able to function as quickly and cleanly and efficiently as it should, because it's so bulky. That means it has a lot of extra baggage. By and by, we need to clean up and modernize our government. More technology, e-governance, good governance will come. The next thing is infrastructure. School infrastructure, roads, healthcare, extremely vital. We have seen in the pandemic how India has responded reasonably well. Although now again there's a big spike. Hopefully it will go down again. But India has responded reasonably well because of the vaccination drive. And if we look at our healthcare workers and education teachers, many of them are amazing individuals. If you look at the superpower that India is going to be, who is going to make that superpower? Not only a president or a prime minister or ministers or chief secretaries or cabinet secretaries or chief of army staff or chief justice. Not only them. It is the common man of India and the common woman of India. And if our teachers, our healthcare workers, our doctors, the police officials, the government officials, the private people also are resilient, capable, honest, innovative people, then the future of India can be that will be a superpower. Superpowers don't come only by economic reform. Social reform, people reform is needed. People reform is very key. Economic reforms which are needed are anyway aware, you are aware of them. Too many people are still into agriculture. And the productivity of agriculture, the contribution to GDP is only about 17 or 16%. Whereas 70% of India is engaged in agriculture in the population terms, working population. It's a mismatch of proportions. We need to get more people into manufacturing, into services, and more of the economy needs to be given a boost by entrepreneurial activities, creating more startups. Make in India is a good idea, but no harm in collaborating with like-minded countries and having economic ties with them, trade ties, commercial ties, and tourism. Tourism is something which can make India a superpower also. Singapore is well known, but its tourism arrivals are brilliant. If you look at the population of the country, it's about 5 million only. And the tourism arrivals are more than 10 million per annum. That means double the population of the country is coming every year from outside. More than double. And that means that they have such a small city state or country with so much tourism. And in India, if supposing 40 million tourists are coming to India per annum, 400 million can come, or at least 200 million can come. And look at the number of employment opportunities. Look at the number of jobs that will be created. I don't talk too much about the pandemic now. Pandemic is for the whole world to handle. We might not be talking about it in 1 year from now. And hopefully it will recede and collapse. And the system will remain strong. But sectors like tourism, industrial development, services sector, education, healthcare, these two are absolutely vital. In fact, education and healthcare, they need to be focused upon by India. India needs to have good relations with its neighbors, with other countries in the world, in order to flourish. If we are engaged in tensions, then our energy is wasted because we are always busy with tensions with other countries. Then we cannot really focus on development. And development means across the board development. So before closing, I'll just add that if there is a common person called Ramlalji in Bhopal, or there is somebody called Surinder Singh in Amritsar, or there is a Mansi in Bangalore, or there is a Jagpreet in Delhi, or there is a Sachin Tendulkar, Sachin in Mumbai. These common people, and maybe there is a Soumya Nanda in Kolkata. All these people need to be part of India's progress. Common people who are able to hold their own, who are able to make a living decently. For a superpower, or not even, that's not the goal. So being a superpower is not the goal. A society where happiness index is high is the goal. Keep your happiness index high personally. And I have a policy of my own, which is individual social responsibility. You have heard of corporate social responsibility, which companies are donating money for education, healthcare, etc. But I think if all of us have an individual social policy or responsibility feeling that we will help the society in whatever way we can, then India can really flourish. So remember those 3 I minus I. Remember that you have to really, really work hard on your career, honestly, diligently, creatively. And remember, basic qualities will always count. Good communication skills, good character, good creative skills. All these things really matter. So you have to work hard and you have to be absolutely true to yourself, to your family. Always spend time with the family because the family looks up to you, wants you to do well, but don't distance yourself from your parents and others. Have good equations with them, good relations with them, and be patient. Every objective or goal that you have cannot be achieved within 1 week or 1 day or even 1 year at times. Wait patiently. Perseverance is the key. Be persevering. That will really, really help you. And always say that I will do my best. Now look at Kapil Dev. To close, I'll give you the example of Kapil Dev. Kapil Dev is now a very senior cricketer. Of course, he's over 60 years old, and he had some heart setback, but he's fine. I know him as a child. I mean, as a schoolboy, I knew that he was playing for India. I'd met him. Even now, I meet him at times. I look at him. He was not from a well-off family, and his family came from Pakistan, and he settled in Chandigarh. He played for Haryana. He was only 19 years old when he played for India. So talented, so hardworking, fearless. So the last point I'll give you: be fearless like Kapil. Don't be worried, scared. Don't be tense, overthinking. Be cheerful, be fearless, be creative. You do very, very well. So stay in touch with me on Instagram. You can connect with me and message me if you like. You can ask questions here now, and they will be moderated by the moderator. But you can definitely keep in touch with me on social media, watch my YouTube channel, subscribe to it, and be connected and be motivated and inspired. I'm sure you will do very well in life, all of you. I wish you well, and thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an illuminating talk. I am sure whoever is viewing your talk must be taking back the golden principle that you gave us today, I minus I. We're all truly inspired by each and every facet that you've mentioned as to how India can be the superpower. And I absolutely agree with one of the points that you said, that we as youth, first we need to hone these skills. Only then do we make the country as a superpower, sir. So there are a lot of questions that are coming up. If you allow, can we move to the Q&A session, sir?
Please go ahead.
Right, sir. So the first question is by Miss Sulata Banerjee. Sir, she says that ego is some sort of self-respect sometimes. Do you agree, sir?
No, actually, in my terminology, ego is not self-respect. Self-respect is self-respect. That means you respect yourself. You don't allow anybody to trample upon you. Ego is a negative word, and ego means also the self. So the self is inferior to the soul. And if you look at the scriptures of India, they will tell you that we have to know that we are not the ego, we are not the self, we are God, and we are a part of God. So that is what our scriptures tell us. So self-respect is very good, Solata, but ego is a negative word, so we avoid it.
Sir, can we move on to the next question, sir?
Sure.
Sir?
Okay, being an IAS officer, there's a huge responsibility. How can we ensure that we continue to work both for our passion and for society? Yes, I agree with you. In fact, there are so many things that a public servant should do which are commensurate with the passion as well as the work. So if you are passionate about your work, that means you love your work. It is said that Einstein said, I think, that you will not work a single day if you love your work, because it's about love and it's not about work. So you are involved with your work for society as an IAS officer, as a PCS officer, as an IPS officer, or IRS officer, or any officer of a bank or of a police, or even working for the private sector or public sector. You are basically dedicated, passionate, and clear about your duties. You will always seek happiness from what you're doing. You don't wait for recognition from the department or the government, because departments and government, they don't often have time to recognize you. They are so busy fighting the next war or this next battle or the next problem. So what I would say is work quietly and earn goodwill. So Arpita, if you can earn goodwill in life, you have earned whatever you wanted to. And goodwill means that four people are talking about you behind your back and they are praising you. That is goodwill. So that means that you have earned it by your work, by your reputation, by your dignity. And I think that is what life is about.
So the next question is, what would you say about the increasing gap between rich and poor in this country in relation to India becoming a superpower?
Yeah, I think that's a worry. It's a worry. Even the digital divide, the economic divide, the social divide. So the divide is a worry we need to carry, as I said, the common men or women of India along on the bandwagon of prosperity. So I mentioned a few names just randomly. Anybody in this country who is sincerely working and a good human being should be comfortable enough. Even if the rich are rich and the poor are poor, at least people should be comfortable. And we have to divide, we have to, in fact, lessen this gap only by economic reform, by giving opportunities, by, yes, taxing the rich. And the rich are definitely to be taxed. And those who are not paying income tax, like I saw a tweet by Kiran Majumdar Shaw, who says only 4 crore people in India pay income tax of a population of 130 crores. So that means that these 4 crores are upholding the economy of the country. So what about the rest of the people who should be paying tax? Maybe another 10 crore, 20 crore, 30 crore should be paying tax. So if they pay tax, then we are able to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. So the government needs to ensure that. Shaurya.
So,
Thank you, Shaurya.
So the next question is, given the numerous different information that we are bombarded with in the present times, how can the youth direct themselves towards the betterment of the society, choosing the right path?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think it's the best question till now. So the youth has to understand themselves first. Everybody is not meant to be an economist. Everybody is not meant to be a police officer. Everybody is not meant to be a doctor. So understanding yourself also takes time. I think you should have two passions. One is your work-related passion and one is your creative passion. It could be the same. If you become a musician and you love music and you are earning a living out of that, then you are lucky. If you are a cricketer and you love cricket and you earn a living, it's great. But if you are a weekend cricketer and all the week long you are an IT professional, you get a salary out of it, then you must dedicate yourself to that. When we talk of betterment of society, there are so many social development avenues nowadays. Companies are spending on corporate social responsibility. Many, in fact, both my daughters are into. They have started working in some kind of social development sector, and it is very important for the youth to think of these. Even if you're working for an NGO, you can be paid reasonably well enough, but achieving the objectives of betterment of society, you don't need to be working for the government. NGOs are also good enough. And even if you're working for a corporate company and earning a fat salary, you're working for Pepsi or Nestle, there is no harm in spending time on a Sunday helping society through your voluntary efforts. So you can find ways. Thank you, Arpita.
So the next question is, sir, what's your view on the recently sparked debate surrounding reducing the involvement of civil services in each and every sector and increasing private sector's involvement to increase efficiency?
Yes, the question is from Nayan. So, Nayan, you're right. This is a debate which is raging, and I would say that the government's efficiency needs to be increased. By bringing in private sector people, it is a good idea to a limited extent, and if they can bring in efficiency, if they can bring in freshness, if they can bring in good ideas and streamline the ways of working, it's a great idea. But the government system in India needs to be strengthened also and made more efficient. People and officers who are working in the government, they need to be incentivized for good work. And increasing efficiency is not going to happen unless you incentivize merit. So merit has to be the criteria for people to be promoted or given increments or whatever. If merit is recognized, then government will definitely improve, and the private sector can provide that spark by coming in to certain areas. But the civil services of India has brilliant people, and those brilliant people also need to be encouraged so that they can also give up their best.
So moving on to the next question. So sometimes being too forward globally, being a superpower, most of them lose their cultural values. How important is culture for a superpower nation?
Yes, Jivanshu is asking this. I totally agree, Jivanshu, that some countries which have become very powerful, they lose their cultural values. But let me say that India is the most rich country in the world culturally. Culturally, we are the richest, you know it. And our tradition, our history, our family. You see, the family unit in India is the most strong unit of the world. The family will look after each other, come what may. And in many countries, in Germany, for example, somebody more than 18 years of age leaves the family and doesn't come back even once a year. So it is important for us to maximize our strengths, keep our culture strong, and to maintain the tradition with modernity. So if we become a superpower, we are already a superpower in many ways. So to remain a superpower and to improve, we need to blend culture and tradition on the one hand, and modernity and technology on the other hand. If we blend them, then we are well off.
So the next question is, how do you propose India manages its internal conflict to be credible at a global level?
Vedika is asking this question. Yes, Vedika, it's a very good question. I think India is a diverse country, and there are always going to be dissension and disagreements. There is a saying that we can agree to disagree. I have a video on my channel, YouTube channel, on this. Agree to disagree. So if you agree to disagree, then it's fine. But if you never agree on anything, I may not agree with your point of view, but I respect you, then that's fine. So I think, Vedika, that we need to make a country which is full of debate and discussion, but not, destruction or putting somebody down, denigration. Politicians should not be allowed to speak, in any manner they like. There should be some decency involved, and that should be a public debate. But internal conflict can also be between various communities which are disgruntled, which are, there is internal terrorism also in India in some states. So these things can be managed by great administration, by talking to them, by becoming more proactive in having a dialogue with these states, with these organizations rather. And we are credible at the global level already. India can't be ignored. But to become more credible, and for democracy to be more recognized as resilient and properly functioning, we need to have more dialogue. We need to have more engagement with all sections of society. That will work well. Thank you.
So Ms. Vedika has a follow-up question. So I'll just go with the... Yes, so she has a follow-up question. She says, sir, how do we curb the proper implementation gap between devising a strategy and practically leveling it out in the field?
Yeah, it's a long one, Vedika. You'll have to write to me separately because this is a huge one. Because I have basically been a civil servant and an IAS officer. I've been deputy commissioner also and director in industries and IT and school education. Policy and implementation are two different things. Strategy and implementation are two different skills. So the coach in a cricket team sitting outside, Ricky Ponting is the coach of the Delhi Capitals. Ravi Shastri is the coach of Team India. He can tell the team, you do this. But the team has to go and execute on the field. The coach can't do it. So strategy is all right. Sitting in Delhi in a drawing room or in a conference hall and making a strategy for India is easy. But then the deputy commissioner or the SDM or the Tahsildar or the BDO at the ground level, who is to implement that policy or scheme, has to be in sync with what you are trying to achieve. And I think a lot of policies are made without proper feedback from the ground level. So I think that will improve the implementation if we are, when you are saying curb the gap of implementation. Yeah. So basically we'll improve the implementation if we are able to devise strategies which are commensurate with what is required at the ground level. I'm using very Sarkari language now, so I hope I don't do too much of that. Okay, next one.
So Nayan Grover asks, what's your experience as an IAS about the comments made around the slow speed of civil service system in granting approvals, effective governance?
Nayan, it's a very interesting question. I was director of IT of Chandigarh and we were promoting Chandigarh for IT investments. And I was director of public relations and tourism also. And we had General Jacob, who was the governor of Punjab at that time as administrator. He came and took a meeting. He said he was a little informal. So about 60 of us were sitting, IAS officers, IPS, others. He said, you guys, you work only at two speeds, very slow and stop. So it was a very hilarious moment. He meant it in a lighter tone, but he meant it seriously also. So we need to go from very slow to slow, at least improve that speed a little bit. The government will always remain a little slow. But being careful does not mean that we have to be inefficient. We can deliver results. Now, a lot of things have improved also. If you look at passport delivery, you look at income tax returns, you look at railway bookings, all these are in the government domain. They have improved, efficiency has improved, no doubt about it. So we can do things better. and we can make a mark. Next.
So there's another question by Mr. Nayan. He says, you just mentioned agriculture and its inefficiency in handling labor. What's your view towards the flow of capital in agriculture and introduction of liberal policies in agriculture?
Yeah, liberal policies will definitely help, and also diversification will help. And the flow of capital will come if the land is utilized well all year round instead of being focused on certain crops. So I think that is what my take is. I'm not an expert on agriculture, but that's it. I would request you to only have one question from one person, because I see a lot of other people waiting in the comments box. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
One
Yes,
person,
sir.
one question.
Right, sir. So the next question is, why India is so backward in happiness index in the world? If youth are not happy, how India will be a superpower? Also, many brilliant youths are migrating to other countries because they're not happy.
Mandira, the thing is that this is not true of the whole country and all the youth. This is definitely true of some youth, and a large number of them want to go abroad, but many of them also want to stay here. I think it depends a lot on the parents. I think the parents are, I've been talking to parents as DC, as a motivational speaker also. I think the parents need to talk to the youth, to their teenagers or their 20-year-olds or whatever they are, even 25-year-olds. And the parents need to counsel them that life is not going to be so bad. They need to curb their expectations from the youth. The parents often have super high expectations that leads to a communication gap and understanding gap. I think the happiness index of the youth can be increased if we give them proper guidance, proper motivation, proper opportunities. I think they're very talented and knowledgeable. I think they only need a bit of guidance in personality development. Now, many of you are asking such good questions. You obviously have know-how, you have intelligence, you have skill, and I'm sure you can speak also. Communication skills are also required. So I think it's very, very important for us to keep on improving our skills and to stay talented and resilient. And you don't have to go abroad necessarily. India can be a superpower only when its youth is doing well and in a happy frame of mind. You're right. So I think we need to work on that. Next.
So then the next question is, what should be the measures to be adopted in order to attain sustainable development goals by 2030?
Yeah, this is not in my syllabus, but Jyoti, I'll say that anything that has to be implemented, and I know the SDGs, and I was also on a UNDP panel which was selecting organizations for awards for SDG development. But you know, this is not a simple answer. There are so many people who would do very well in the implementation of the SDGs, but they are not involved yet. So the government and other forces or other sections of society need to come together. The private sector, the government, the academia, the entrepreneurs, the agriculturalists, everybody needs to sit together and see. And then women empowerment is one of the main SDGs. And we need to bridge that gap between what women are expecting and what they are getting. I said it in my speech in the beginning. If women can be taken to the level at which they ought to be, we can definitely attain all SDG goals by 2030. Because if women in society, because so many of the SDGs are related to women, their economic levels, their employment levels, their social reform, their education, their healthcare. So all these things are pretty much related to women. If we can reform our governance, which is women-centric, give them more opportunity, I think we can achieve that.
So the next question is, how can we ensure protection of environment and industrialization together?
Yeah, Vishwakriti is asking. It's a very good question again. You see, there has to be balance in everything. I'm a motivational speaker and I counsel people on emotional intelligence. Our personalities have to be balanced. I can't become obsessed with Instagram, which all of us are. You are, I am also to some extent. We can't become obsessed with cricket or with money making or with one thing. So balance is required. If we are balanced, then our country can develop. So environment and industrialization can also take place together. Many manufacturing units have not adopted the measures which can reduce pollution. if they are supposed to spend a certain amount of money on machinery which will reduce pollution due to their activity, manufacturing activity, they must do that. And I've seen in my own area districts that many companies did not do that, and the government has to enforce that. So environment protection can take place, a lot of tree plantation, a lot of clean fuel, a lot of, in fact, one of the ways is to reduce air conditioning usage. In America, of course, it's too much. But even in India, you find we keep the temperature of the AC at 18 or 19 in the summers, whereas 23, 24 or 25 also is okay because it's much, much cooler than outside. And it is extremely important for us to minimize our air conditioning expenditure and also our energy. And that will also lead to less CFCs being emitted and environment will be better. But tree plantation and a sustained campaign is important.
So we'll be taking the last question for the day. Sir, what should be the ideal meaning of becoming or calling India a superpower?
I think this is a very appropriate last question by Vinay Kumar. I think you're right to say that what is the definition of a superpower? I don't have the definition, but all I can say is that when the whole country is empowered enough to live in a free society, to do what they want without breaking any rules, of course, but to be comfortable economically, socially, politically, not being forced into or coerced into doing something, then we are a country where we have the power. We are powerful. It is not only because we have a powerful army or a navy or an air force or a police force. It is because we have economic power and we have employment, we have diversity, we have understanding, we have appreciation for others, we have a society where women and men march together, where the youth are confident and calm. I think this sums up all the questions as well as the answers that I've given. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to invite Mr. Shivam Bansal, our founder, to propose the vote of thanks.
Where's he gone?
I would like to invite Ms. Arpita Chaudhary to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Anusha. Good evening, everyone. I am the co-founder of Agon Mun organization. On the behalf of my entire team, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Vivek Atray, sir, for conducting such an insightful webinar. And I would like to thank you for accepting our invitation and coming on this platform despite your busy schedule. I personally feel that it was a really, really informative and interactive session. The examples you gave were really phenomenal. And I truly believe that all our viewers have gained a lot from this. And we are thankful for this overwhelming viewer count. Thank you so much, everyone. And next, I would also like to thank Anusha for conducting such a seamless webinar. And last but not the least, our entire team of Agon Mun organization, because I believe that behind every event that we conduct, it's the team which works so hard to make it a success. And sir, lastly, I would just like to state that we are really looking forward to have more such interactive sessions with you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Shivam, Arpita, Anusha, and everyone else who joined in. I think it was a very well-conducted webinar. Thank you, Anusha, and thank you, Shivam and Arpita. I think the questions were brilliant, some of them, and I enjoyed it. So I would be very happy to stay connected with you all on social media. All the best.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much once again. Before we sign off, there is a small announcement for the audience. Agon Mun organization is going to start its recruitment drive for the session 2021-22 from next week, requesting everyone to stay tuned on our social media channels on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram for many more events and competitions we are going to come up with. Keep watching this space and keep supporting us. See you in our next webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your kind patience.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good evening.